Hi guys, so this is our check-in video for Thursday, not September, April 9th. Um, so unfortunately, this is not a super positive moment for any of us. Um, you guys are slacking. It's not great. So we've cut down your workload, so you have 2 lessons per class, way less than you've had when you were at school, because we know it's still difficult trying to manage everything at home. Because of this, you have to make sure you're still getting things in. With my class especially, you literally sit and listen to something and answer an exit slip. That's all you've had to do this week. Okay? For those of you who are doing it on your phone, that makes it easier because you don't have to worry about trying to type in something on Google Docs with a tiny little screen and everything. And everything is being read to you. Okay? I'm pretty disappointed. I know that it's weird and I know that we're still adjusting to it, but first week there was so much more engagement and this week is not really super great. So, for example, today currently, I'm making this, it's now Wednesday night. It is 6:40 p.m. and the exit slip of the day, I have 23 people who turned it in. There are like 90 of you. 23. Not great. So, however, we're going to go over point of view again because a lot of us are still missing it. Okay? So, when you're doing point of view things, you want to use those notes. And if you didn't take notes on that first video, go back and redo it. You have access to everything on this, so you don't have a reason to not have these notes. So go back to last Monday's post and revisit that video. I'm going to go over and share with you something I made today that might help some of you who are genuinely just struggling with it. So we're going to look at the exit slip from Monday. So again, 44 people have finished. Still not super great, but better. And if we look at this chart here, this tells me that only I can't count suddenly, 10 people actually passed this exit slip. And our mostly missed questions were not the ones about the story, they were about point of view. So we're going to go through a couple of these because we really, really need to get this down. So if we look at this passage here, Shugga grabbed the sheep by its neck and raised it in the air. Perhaps we will eat sheep tonight, Shugga grunted. Hugo looked at Shugga and said, No, the shaman protects him. This sheep is to be our luck. Shugga scoffed and said, Shugga does not believe in magic. Shugga believes in eating. Tugo gently grabbed the stone axe that Shugga was holding and lowered it toward the ground. Then he said, We need the shaman now, Shugga. We eat later. Shugga grimaced. So some of you might be thinking, how do I even begin to figure out this point of view? So I made a flowchart. All right. So if you look here, it gives you kind of a different way of figuring out who the narrator is and what the point of view is. So before I really tried to push you guys to look at the pronouns. However, we are still struggling with that. So instead, we're going to just think who is telling the story and then kind of follow the flowchart. So in that example, we have, oh my gosh, we have Shugga and we have Tugo. Neither of them is telling us the story. It's some outside person. So we're going to follow that line. It is an outside narrator. Is the reader me, the main character? So is it saying you do this, you go to the sheep, you do this, you do this? It's not doing that. So we're going to follow the nope line. And then we just have to think whose thoughts and feelings do we know? So when we look at these guys, we see Shugga, it tells us what he does and what he says. And it does the same thing about Tugo, but it doesn't tell us anything that's happening in their heads. Okay? So that means that we would follow this line, no one, and we would figure out that it's third person objective. So we're going to do another example using this flow chart. Okay? So Gene sat in the back of the blues club. He wasn't there to listen to music. He wanted to see Tia. So he sat at a table by himself and waited for her to come to him. Can I get you something? Said Tia when she finally approached. Jean smiled and said, "Let me get a tonic and a date with you." Tia had heard that one before. She had heard them all before, but she lived on tips, so she smiled and laughed instead of telling him how she really felt. So, again, our first question we ask ourselves, who is telling the story? Is it the main character? Is Jean saying, "I went to the jazz club"? No. So we know it's an outside narrator. Then ask ourselves, is the reader the main character? Is it saying, "You went to a jazz club, you did this"? No. So we follow that line. Now we got to think, whose inside thoughts and feelings do we know? So let's go back to the text. We have Jean and we have Tia. So we only have two characters. We got to see if we know any thoughts and feelings from those two people. And if so, is it both or just the one? So Jean sat in the back of the blues club. That's an action that tells us nothing. He wasn't there to listen to music. He wanted to see Tia. He's not saying that to somebody, and it's not something we could visibly see about him. So we know that that's in his head. It's one of his thoughts, it's one of his feelings. So we know, yes, for sure, we are in Jean's head. Now we got to look at Tia. So Tia had heard that one before. She had heard them all before. We would not know that unless we were inside her head. Okay, so see, when she says she had heard all of them before, that shows us that we are getting her inside thoughts and feelings. So we know both of our characters, so we know more than just the one. So we are at the everyone, we know everyone's perspective, everybody's thoughts and feelings, so we can figure out that it is third person omniscient. Okay? For some of you, this flowchart might help you. For some of you, it might not. If you're already doing great with it, congratulations, and I'm so proud of you. However, the data that I am getting from this is overwhelmingly showing me that you are not. Also, these are your grades. So if you're getting ones and twos on the exit slip and then telling me that you don't need anything and you get everything, that's not correct. You're showing that you don't get it. Things are hard and weird right now. We're all adjusting, but this is what we have to do. And so you have to be doing your part as well. Okay? I wish I was a little more positive right now, but I'm just really hoping that we can kind of step it up so that I don't have to start calling parents, calling you, harassing you, bothering you, just to get you to do your work. Okay? So please, please, please reach out if you have any questions. If you want to redo an exit slip, let me know. I will delete your response and have you redo it so that you can get your grades up. Okay? All right. Office hours today. See you there. Ask questions. We can go over examples.